All right, they're the answer to every MSME's problem of finding funds to set up a business. And Rising Stars today, we've joined by Vivek Raghavan, co-founder of Kapitaltech, an entity that offers collateral-free business loans to MSMEs. And, you know, Vivek, it's great that you're joining us right here in our studios, because this really has been one of the hot spaces over the last year or so. A lot of startups coming into it and a lot of successful ones as well. And we've seen a couple of them really blow into larger companies as well. What's your journey been like? What's the venture all about? Take us through it.
Firstly, thanks for having me on the show.
Sure.
It gives us an opportunity to represent the Kapitaltech team and kind of progress that we've made. We are essentially a fintech startup. We're just 1 year old. We are in the alternative lending space, and we focus on the MSME segment, like you know. So we are trying to create a change, a disruption in the way that lending is structured to this segment. And I mean, we've been doing great.
Okay.
We've deployed about, or we will close FI16 at about 50 crores of disbursal. Our target is to kind of shake that up to 300 crores, 350 crores by FI17, and you know, hopefully by FI18, 19, we look at something like 4,000, 5,000 crores of deployment.
You know, when you say this has been an area which really needs a lot of urgent addressal in terms of the way the problems have been plaguing in the sector, what have been some of the reasons as to why you had to come up with this plan? What were some of those problems that you possibly saw in the industry which needed to be addressed?
So it's a $650 billion addressable market right out there, of which 20% is currently being addressed by traditional lenders, as you know them. The remaining 80%, I mean, some of it comes in the form of equity, self-equity and family equity, but the remaining is entirely private lending, which is gray market lending.
Okay.
And these happen at like 100% kind of interest rates. So we saw a huge opportunity to serve this highly deserving segment. And the issue seems to be that the lending community is trying to use the existing underwriting framework, existing products, and then trying to push it into a framework which fits the MSME segment. We, on the other hand, have actually built a product around the segment.
Okay.
So we've gone ground up there. So it doesn't just mean the product, it means distribution. How do you reach millions of MSME borrowers, customers? How do you create a product which is custom-made, tailor-made to suit their requirements?
Okay.
How do you underwrite these guys? How do you do the credit underwriting? How do you then look at loan repayments which suit the segment? So it needs to be customized from end to end, from origination to delivery to repayment. So that's the whole thing. I mean, we've just customized it further.
You know, the one interesting bit that's there on the website as well, and what you talk about your business strategy out here, is that you're giving it collateral-free loans. And that's one of the key points of the venture as well. The point is, every time you do that, you also somewhere increase the risk element itself when you give collateral-free loans to clients, or to anybody who wants to raise money to a certain extent. How do you keep that in check?
You see, nobody has infinite collateral available, right?
True.
They might have property, they might have gold, they might have stock, but at the end of the day, that's all going to only give a finite amount of leverage.
Fair.
But if the business has underlying fundamental strength in terms of cash flows and growth, why do you want to look at collateral? Sure. As long as you address the ability of the business to pay and the intention of the borrower to pay you, you're done.
Right.
Right? And risk. So risk is something that you need to address. We are using technology to address that risk.
Okay.
So, I mean, if you've seen our website, we have something called Dexter,
right,
which is our proprietary statistical modeling-driven data analytics platform.
Wow.
That is how we are going to mitigate risk here. So we take 2,500 data points for each borrower and use that in our proprietary algorithm, credit algorithm, to see, first of all, we kind of bring it down to more usable variables by something we call dimensionality reduction.
Okay.
And we also use a variety of statistical techniques, including probabilistic record linkages, to kind of see, can I lend to this guy, and if so, how much? So that's, I mean, technology is the only way, and it's not technology just in underwriting these guys. We are using technology in reaching out to these guys. You can have a fantastic product, but as long as you can't reach out to your customer, it doesn't mean anything.
So this is the proprietary product that you've actually developed, which gives you somewhat of a a parameter or a certain guide if certain person is capable or is able to take money from you or not in that manner. That's a proprietary element.
Yes.
So talk about your expansion plans here as well. What's on the radar? I mean, are we looking at expanding on the domestic side? Are we looking at probably moving international as well? Can you take us through your expansion plans?
We can move international, but let's focus on a market so huge. The opportunity is immense. We're lucky to have this opportunity, be here in this space at this point of time in this country. So obviously, India focus first. We are currently operating out of Bombay, and that includes Mumbai metropolitan region, as you know it, including, I mean, these are cities by themselves, Thane, Navi Mumbai, these are extended cities by themselves. So we aim to be we aim to have a multi-city presence. Some of the focus cities that we are looking at next will be Pune. It's next door neighbor, makes a lot of sense to immediately move in. We are looking at, in South, we're looking at Bangalore, and we're looking at Hyderabad, which are great markets. Chennai, for the time being, because of the unfortunate series of events that have happened in Chennai, it's a moratorium market for lenders, and they need a breather right now, so that's on the backbench. And NCR, of course, is a massive market. It's 3 cities, Gurgaon, Delhi, and Noida by itself. So we will expand to at least 4 to 5 cities in the coming year.
Since you're in the business of actually lending loans to a couple of the companies that are growing, you're probably the right person to ask them, what's the new trend that you're actually seeing? Which is that one space to watch out for in terms of a sector, in terms of a theme that's probably likely to play out in the next 1 or 2 years?
So I'm not sure about that, but at least I can focus on the theme that we are currently focusing on. So we have short-term loans which are high-frequency repayment, and therefore the ideally suited segment for this is the retail segment. So we lend to supermarkets, footwear stores, apparel stores, petrol pumps, car showrooms. So this is an exciting segment to be in. And they have traditionally been deprived of credit for some or the other reason. So our view is that we need to look beyond perceived risk and come closer to actual risk. And that's where we spend around 10,000 man-hours of research and development to build a product that can really deliver.
Vivek, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thanks so much for stopping by.
Thank you so much, Priyank.
And sharing your thoughts and perspective. Vivek Raghavan there. Interesting details coming in as far as some of the lending situation is concerned and what one probably needs to watch out for going forward from here as well. On that note, it's a wrap on this edition of Countdown. Stay tuned. Coming up next is What Did You Miss? Stay tuned.